reference parity in college hoops. We've certainly seen it over the last two tournaments. If you count up the seeds that made it to Saturday this year, you'd get 208, just two fewer than what it was last year, with 9 seeds or lower advancing. In the previous 8 seasons, the highest total was 195 in 2006. Now, 6 teams seeded 12th or lower have won in the round of 64 this year. 5 won last year. You guys know that. In 10 other seasons since '85, only 4 teams seeded 12th or lower have won in the round of 64. So, Bruce, what's the reason for all these lower seeds winning this year?
It was consistent during the regular season, Linda. 22 times a top 5 team lost to a unranked team, and it's continued here in the NCAA tournament. A lot of guys leaving early. Teams are playing great defense. The talent level isn't that much different between the high major and the low major. And it's about one time in a 40-minute game. Anything can happen, Digger. The better team doesn't always win when it's just, win and you advance and lose and you go home.
Well, if we look at all the conferences around the country, the A-10 has stepped up, obviously, the way they see they're playing because they're tough, they're aggressive, they mix their defenses, they mix their offenses. Obviously, the Big Ten of the major conferences, but everybody else, weak. So what happens? You play an unknown, all of a sudden they become known, and we're seeing that happen in the NCAA tournament. We saw it happen in the when like Michigan goes to Penn State and they win their first game in the Big Ten. So it's not parity. It's more that you just got to be ready for any moment, for any situation. And if you're not prepared, I think Georgetown came into this game thinking, okay, who is this team? But you go back and ask Miami, they would have told you who this team is. And that, to me, was not a shocker. This team is very talented that knocked off Georgetown.
And Florida Gulf Coast, they're 2-1 against the 2 seeds. They played a tough non-conference schedule. Yeah. So Andy Enfield got his team ready. And I think that's one of the things that's helping the mid-majors. In November, December, they get a chance to get on the court with some of these high-major teams. They go, you know what? Yeah. These guys aren't unbeatable. There was swag and confidence in these young, higher-seeded, lower-seeded teams.
And Bruce brings up a good point. You look at Michigan State's non-conference schedule. He goes out, Izzle, and plays people. Other schools played a little soft because they're worried about their conference. It catches up to you when it comes to March Madness.
Let me ask you something quickly. You're the coach of one of these underdog teams playing today. What do you tell your guys? It's got to help them, right? Seeing the upsets that have occurred so far. What do you tell your guys? Anything?
You live for the moment, and this is your moment. And I think if you listen to his pregame talk, Gulf Coast, they were ready for this because he's going like, once the game starts, we just play who we are, and that's what you're seeing.
But it's a tournament.
Right.
It's a weekend tournament, and all they got to do is win 2 games to get to the Sweet 16. That's how special it is.